to the Brand New Law Firm Owner, episode 207. Are you ready to make your law firm a profit-generating machine that will free up your time and skyrocket your impact? With more than 2 decades of business growth experience and having proven that you can be successful while prioritizing your family and your impact, introducing the Profit with Law podcast. I am your host, the creator of the Firm Differentiator 10X Effect, Moshe Amsel. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Profit with Law podcast. I'm your host, Moshe Amsel, and today I wanted to do something different. So I got a call from a lawyer who is about to step out onto his own. He's about to start his own law firm. And he reached out to me, said, hey, I looked up your number on Google. I've got a hold of you, and I wanted to reach out and ask you for advice. I know that you do coaching. I know that you work with law firm owners. What do you do for a brand new law firm? I want to make sure I get started the right way. And brand new law firm owners have not been my target market. I work primarily with law firm owners who are established and are trying to figure out how to get to the next step in their journey. I do attract law firm owners that are earlier in their journey, but I don't believe, at least I don't have any paying coaching clients that hired me before they actually opened their firm. And this really got me thinking, what are the words of wisdom that I would have for somebody who's first starting out, who's first opening up their doors, who hasn't made any of the mistakes, who hasn't taken missteps, who hasn't lost their way, and how would I guide them on getting started the right way? So I decided this would be good fodder for a great podcast episode. Now, before you turn this off saying, oh, this is only for new lawyers, what I want to tell my listeners who are well-established law firms is there's always something to be learned from hearing the advice to somebody else. So the things that I'm going to share with a brand new law firm, hopefully you already have all of those. You're already doing all of those. So if there's anything on this list, if there's anything in this episode that you don't already have in place, that might be a good place to start. So hopefully everybody who's listening to this gets value out of it. Before I get started, we're going to take a moment and share a word with our sponsors. Finding amazing employees is the toughest job for any business, and especially for a law firm. You deserve to be the law firm owner you've always wanted to be, but you can't get there without a great team. Get Staffed Up helps you build your all-star team by staffing your law firm with incredible full-time offshore virtual assistants. Work with Get Staffed Up to save money and your biggest resource, time, while they find you the best English-speaking VAs in the world. # delegate your way to freedom. Learn more at www.getstaffedup.com/VIP. Make sure to enter Profit with Law or Moshe Amsel in the Referred By section for a $500 discount off of your first VA hire. Thanks to our sponsor, Smith AI. Smith AI is a superior virtual receptionist service for small businesses. They specialize in working with solo and small law firms. I discovered Smith AI a couple of years ago and was blown away by their range of services, which are available at a cost any attorney, even those of you in the smallest solo practice, can afford. Their friendly receptionists respond to potential clients in English or Spanish, screen and schedule new leads, and even take payment for consults. The best part is, they don't just handle these conversations by phone. They also have live agents and chatbots capturing leads on websites and via text message. If there's one growth hack to your practice, this is it. Smith's friendly gatekeepers can staff your front lines. They'll capture new leads while you work uninterrupted. You can finally have the peace of mind that while you're working, you're not missing out on future work. Plans start at just $210 a month for calls and $140 a month for chats. They even offer a totally free chatbot, so there's no excuse. Try Smith AI today and see for yourself why attorneys like Justy Nickel in Colorado say Smith AI receptionists are the secret to business growth and client happiness. Smith AI offers a free trial, and podcast listeners can get an extra $100 discount with promo code ProfitLaw100. That's ProfitLaw100. Sign up and learn more at www.smith.ai. Trust me when I say, don't let another day go by. Try Smith AI. Okay, and we are back. So I'm just going to jump right in. I jotted a few notes as to what it is that I would want to share, and there are 4 main things that I'm going to cover. The first is clarity. The second is plan. The third is cash. And the fourth is advisory board. Let me jump in and share each of these with you so that it all makes sense. If you have a friend, a colleague, somebody that you know is thinking about going out on their own, is thinking about taking the leap and starting their own law firm, or just started their own law firm, then share this episode with them. Let them get the insight that I'm going to share. Hopefully, it'll help them in their journey. So the first thing is clarity. Clarity is really, really important when you start out. And the things that you need to have clarity on, number one, is why are you doing this? Why are you deciding to go start a firm? Let me tell you something. If your motivation is just to replace your job, is just to have better income or a better upwards potential, you are in for a rude awakening, because it is hard work to get to the point where you replace your paycheck. Now, not for everybody. Some people are underpaid. Some people are earlier in their careers. But if you're commanding $150,000, $200,000 income at a paying job or more, and you go out on your own, it might not be tomorrow that you replace that income. It might not be 2 years from now. It might take you longer than that, because the one thing that lawyers don't understand when they start their law firm, most of them, is that if I bring $100,000 of revenue through the door, that doesn't mean that I personally earn $100,000. If I bring $200,000 or $300,000 through the door, that doesn't mean that I earn $200,000 or $300,000. As a matter of fact, you will be lucky if you get to keep 50% of the revenue that comes through the door. So that means if you're currently commanding a salary of $150,000, to get to the point where you can replace your salary with the income of your firm before you even exceed it, you have to get your firm to $300,000 in revenue to get to that point. And that's a big hill to climb. So if money is your only motivation, you're probably making a mistake, even from the get-go, thinking this is what I want to do. Now, I'm going to ask you again, get clarity on your why. Why are you doing this? Most likely, it's not only money. Most likely, there are other reasons for it. Maybe it's time freedom, not needing to have to be beholden to answer to somebody else. You want to be able to make flexibility in your schedule, decide when you want to take off so you can go see your kids' graduation or spend time with your grandmother who's ill, or whatever the case may be. Maybe you have a specific audience that you want to help. Maybe you're a human rights activist, or a civil rights activist, or I don't know. Maybe you're anti certain criminal law, or maybe you're for certain criminal defenses. Whatever the case may be, there's something that you are passionate about, and you want to be able to make an impact and a difference in that area or that field. And you know that the only way that you're going to be able to do that is getting out on your own. There's other reasons to start a law firm. For example, some people tell me that they want to be an example to their kids. They want their kids to see that their parent, their mother, their father was able to start a business, start a law firm, and succeed at it, so that they too can feel inspired to do the same for themselves. There are other motivations besides for money. Find the other motivations, because ultimately, when you focus on the right motivation, the money will follow, first of all. So you're not going to have to worry about that. But second of all, when you get stuck, when you hit difficulties along the way, when you get challenged, when you get tested, the why, having the true why in front and center and knowing why you're doing this is going to inspire you to keep going. So there's a few things I want you to get clarity on. The first thing is the why. The next thing is the what. What is the thing that you are selling? What is the service you're providing? So many attorneys start a law firm saying, I'm just going to take legal clients. And what happens is that before you know it, their website it looks like a Rolodex of practice areas, because they are doing family law, they're doing bankruptcy, they're doing criminal law, they're doing estate planning, they're doing trademarks, they're doing business contracts, they're doing landlord-tenant issues. The list goes on and on, because every time that they meet a family member, a friend, they say, hey, I started a law firm. If you know anybody who needs any legal services, send them my way. And then people come because, oh, so-and-so said that I should give you a call. I need help with this. And it's something brand new for them. And they say, yes, 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 yes. Why? Because I need clients, because I need money. And what ends up happening is that you cannot grow. You cannot scale. You cannot be efficient with your time if you're saying yes to everything that's coming through the door. And the best way to say no to the wrong things is to have clarity when you start, knowing what is it that I have to offer. Now, some people get started knowing to a specificity what it is that they have to offer. And some people have no clue. And there's people in between. So you need to have clarity on your why. You need to have clarity on your what. What is it that I have to offer? What is my practice area? More importantly, within the practice area, what is the specialty that I do? One of my clients who's become a dear friend at this point, she does gun trusts. So she does estate planning, but very, very specifically to help people create trusts to protect their guns, their gun collection that they have. And that is very specific. It's also something that will only be relevant in certain states in the country. I know here in New York State, there's probably a lot less people with massive gun collections than there are in some of the Midwestern states. So you have to get really clear on what it is that you do that makes you unique, that makes you a destination, that makes people want to come and seek you out to use you for their legal services. And then the last thing to get clarity on is how. Now, there's a lot of things that fall into the how, and I don't want you to get lost in the details, because one of the things that will trip you up is not making decisions and not moving forward because you have too many things to worry about. But there's a few hows that you really should have some sort of concept of how you're going to do it. How are you going to bring in clients? How are you going to market your firm? What are the things that you're going to do initially to bring in clients? Is that going to cost you money to do, or is it going to cost you time, or some combination of the two? You need to start envisioning how that's going to happen so that you can get a clear and accurate picture of what your law firm is going to look like as you proceed on your journey. How are you going to get all the work done? If you need to bring in 20 clients a month in order to earn the income that you want, do you have the capacity to serve 20 clients? And if not, who do you have to bring in to do that, to help you fulfill on that promise and serve those clients? So how are you going to market? How are you going to execute on your promises? How are you going to deliver your services? And how are you going to price your services? Are you going to be contingency? Are you going to be flat fee? Are you going to be subscription based? Are you going to be hourly? Are you going to be some combination of those? Are you going to require a retainer? Are you going to do an evergreen retainer? Now, some of these details you do not need to know going into it, But when you start asking yourself this how question and you ask about these different things, it will start to make you think about them. And ultimately, you have to decide, right? You don't want to be wishy-washy all over the place when you start out. You want to at least have an idea of what your plan is. Now, you can always change your plan. As a matter of fact, 90% of the things that we think we're going to do when we start, we end up doing completely differently down the road. But you need to have something to start with so that you can find out it's the wrong thing to get to the right thing. If you don't have clarity on what you're going to do to start, then you're just going to be an indecision along the way, and you're not going to get anywhere. And that's it for clarity. So we have 4 things to go through. Clarity was the first one. Clarity on your why, clarity on the what, and clarity on the how. The next thing that you need to have is a plan. Now, I don't mean a 20-page business plan, but what I do mean is having clarity on what your destination is, and having clarity on the path that you're going to take to get there. Now, the destination does not have to be your 10-year or 5-year destination. It could be your 1-year destination. What is your immediate financial goal that you want to achieve? What is the next financial goal you want to achieve? Map out what the financial goal is. Now, the reason why I like in the planning phase, I like to start with the financial goal is because numbers allow you to very clearly create a plan that doesn't lie. Without numbers, we can make up whatever we want, and we've got a plan. But it doesn't necessarily have to work. When we use numbers, the numbers actually have to work. They have to match. The arithmetic has to take place, and it has to work out. So I like to use numbers. For the plan, have a financial goal. This is how much I want to take home, or this is how much I want my revenue to be at month number 12, and it's not just an arbitrary number. There's a reason I arrived at that number. Maybe if I take my mortgage, my food, my insurance, my car, my basic expenses, I figure out I need to be bringing home $5,000 a month to be able to survive. I want to give myself a little buffer, have a little bit of extra. I want $7,000 a month to come home. Now, remember earlier I said probably about double that for revenue, right? So maybe I need to be getting to $14,000, $15,000 a month in revenue for my financial goal. Well, now the question is, okay, how many clients do I need to bring in $15,000 in revenue? Well, it depends on what your business model is, right? But let's say that you're charging $5,000 a client. That means I have to bring in 3 clients a month to be at the point where I'm actually covering my bills and I've got a little extra to show for it, right? So if that's the case and I need 3 clients, where are they going to come from? Where are those clients going to come from? And how long will it take me to get to the point where I'm getting 3 clients? You know, if I think that I'm going to do some SEO marketing and I'm going to hire an SEO firm and I'm going to pay them $5,000 a month, and 9 to 12 months from now, I'm going to start rating high enough on Google to be able to actually have clients coming from it, then we have a 12-month runway to get there. And that's going to lead into the next big item I'm going to cover. Finding amazing employees is the toughest job for any business, and especially for a law firm. You deserve to be the law firm owner you've always wanted to be, but you can't get there without a great team. Get Staffed Up helps you build your all-star team by staffing your law firm with incredible full-time offshore virtual assistants. Work with Get Staffed Up to save money and your biggest resource, time, while they find you the best English-speaking VAs in the world. #delegate your way to freedom. Learn more at www.getstaffedup.com/VIP. Make sure to enter Profit with Law or Moshe Amsel in the Referred By section for a $500 discount off of your first VA hire. Thanks to our sponsor, Smith AI. Smith AI is a superior virtual receptionist service for small businesses. They specialize in working with solo and small law firms. I discovered Smith AI a couple of years ago and was blown away by the range of services, which are available at a cost any attorney, even those of you in the smallest solo practice, can afford. Their friendly receptionists respond to potential clients in English or Spanish, screen and schedule new leads, and even take payment for consults. The best part is, they don't just handle these conversations by phone. They also have live agents and chatbots capturing leads on websites and via text message. If there's one growth hack to your practice, this is it. Smith's friendly gatekeepers can staff your front lines. They'll capture new leads while you work uninterrupted. You can finally have the peace of mind that while you're working, you're not missing out on future work. Plans start at just $210 a month for calls and $140 a month for chats. They even offer a totally free chatbot, so there's no excuse. Try Smith AI today and see for yourself why attorneys like Justy Nickel in Colorado say Smith AI receptionists are the secret to business growth and client happiness. Smith AI offers a free trial, and podcast listeners can get an extra $100 discount with promo code ProfitLaw100. That's ProfitLaw100. Sign up and learn more at www.smith.ai. Trust me when I say, don't let another day go by. Try Smith AI. But when you're creating the plan and you're looking at it, that might suddenly become obvious to you that that's not a good plan unless you have a large amount of cash put aside to fund the first 12 months of your business when nothing's happening while you get your marketing engine going. You probably need a different plan, which is why the planning stage is so important, because it's going to make you recognize these things. Well, 1 second, I only need 3 clients a month. I don't need some fancy marketing strategy. What if I could just find a way to get referrals? Or what if I could just get some speaking engagements that will get me clients? Or what if I can just go to family and friends and drum up business? What if I could just go to other law firms and say, hey, I'll take the cases you don't want, or I'll help you when you're overworked. And boom, you've got your clients there. So there's a lot of ways that you can get business. So you got to ask yourself, how many clients do I need to achieve my first set of financial goals, and how long will it take me to get that? And what is basically the quickest way that I can get to that amount of clients? And that's the plan. That's the strategy, right? The next big item is cash. Cash is so important. We step into this journey of business ownership without an inkling of how to manage cash, how to predict our cash flow, how to understand the money coming in, money going out in the business. But let me let you in on a little secret. Often, you're spending the expense before the revenue that backs it up is going to come in. And I will give you examples. You need to spend money on marketing in order to attract clients through marketing. Right? So you spend the money first, the clients come after. You need to do work for clients. Now, this is not true in every model, but let's say you're in the typical traditional hourly business model. You need to do work for clients before you can invoice them, and then you can collect the revenue for the work that you did. Now, you might say, well, that's not a big deal, right? Because I'm going to bill them at the end of the month. I'm going to collect the money, so I'm only out 1 month. Well, I will introduce you to hundreds of attorneys who have accounts receivables in the 7 digits. They have people who have not paid them, and it has gone on long enough that they're owed over $1 million in services never paid. How did that happen? We have retainer agreements. Yep, we do, right? But we don't stick to them. We don't chase after our clients. We don't stop work when the retainer runs out, and we get ourselves into trouble. But that's not the point. The point is understanding that cash is your survival tool. It is your Swiss Army knife for your business. And if you are not careful to make sure that you do not run out of cash, you will be out of business. Because when you run out of cash, you're not going to be able to continue. You're not going to be able to survive. You will not be able to continue your marketing efforts. You will not be able to continue paying your employees or your staff. You will not be able to continue to pay for your client expenses that you need to pay for. Ultimately, without cash, you're toast. So what's the solution? Well, the solution is to get really clear before you start your business on how much cash do I have, how much cash do I need, and where's it going to come from? Now, this might seem like a complicated thing to have to predict, but it really isn't. How much do I have is simply a matter of checking your assets. Do I have any cash? I'm about to quit my job. Do I have any cash to carry my firm, to get myself started, to get this business going? I've said this on other podcasts. I've talked about this with other people, and I use another profession, doctors, as an example because it's an easy example to demonstrate what I'm trying to show, although they have a different business model, and I recognize that. But the point is going to make sense. When a doctor goes to open an office to see patients, does he first go to family and friends and say, hey, I'm open for business, I'm ready to see patients, wait for the first patient to come, and then say, oh, I have a patient who's coming to see me, I better go get an office. Oh, and after I see my first dozen patients, I'll have enough money to scrap together to be able to buy a scale or a blood pressure cuff. And I'll buy that piece of equipment so I can start to take blood pressures, or I can start to take people's weight when they come in the office. Oh, and maybe after another 12 patients, I'll go and buy an examining table. A doctor who does that is not going to be a doctor for very long, right? They're not going to be in practice for very long. They need to be ready to see patients when they open their doors. They need to have a office that has a waiting room, that has places for people to sit. They need to have examining rooms that people can go into and can be examined. They need to have the equipment to examine them. They need to have staff, somebody to go through and triage the patient before. They need to have somebody at the front desk to collect copays, to schedule. At a minimum, you need to have 3 people in the office, a nurse or somebody who's going to do the medical piece, and a front desk person, and the doctor. So they have to have staff, they have to have equipment, they have to have an office before they even start. A doctor, because of his business model, has to come up with cash before he starts and invest in his business before he opens the door and is able to accept even the very first patient. Now, lawyers are in a unique position because you're not a doctor. You don't have all those needs, and therefore you think you can just start seeing clients without having anything else in place. And the reality is that you are not different than a doctor. You may not need an examining table, but instead you might need Google pay-per-click advertising. You may not need a blood pressure cuff, but instead you might need a website. You may not need a scale or a receptionist at the front desk, but instead you might need Smith AI Reception Services, one of our sponsors, mentioned Profit Law 100 for $100 off. Or you might need practice management software like Clio, Practice Panther. You get the idea, right? There are investments that you need to make in your law firm that we just think we're going to make it when we get there, when the time comes. But the time is here before you start. As a matter of fact, an attorney who gets ready to start their law firm and recognizes that in short order, if I were to get to where my goal would be, right? Let's say my 12-month goal is to get to $300,000 in revenue. I just want to be able to take home $150,000. I want to get to $300,000 in revenue. If I imagine a law office bringing in $300,000 of revenue, what does that law office look like? How many people do they have? Well, at the very least, I probably have an assistant, maybe even a paralegal. Maybe I've even invested in a front desk or a reception person, but I at least have 2 people probably. I probably have a reception service answering my calls. I probably have a phone system. I probably have a website. I probably have practice management software. I probably have all these things, right? So if you look at where would I have to be, what would I have to have in place at this finish line? What if you entered the equation with all of the cash you needed to actually execute on those things at the beginning? What if I hired my people at the beginning? What if I invested in my marketing at the beginning? What if, and I'm not saying to do everything on day one, but what I am saying is that when you start to think about how much do I need, if I needed to carry this law firm for a period of time to get myself established and actually be able to invest in the firm to get these supports in place to be able to serve my clients, we would be, first of all, a lot less people would be opening law offices probably, because you'd have to have some money saved up or have a source of capital from somewhere, right? But we would actually be in a better place because most law firm owners would have really thought out about where this cash is going, what they're doing with it, and they will have also put the right pieces in place. Instead, law firm owners today, most of them, will put their sweat equity into getting clients. They will bounce between being busy getting leads and closing clients and doing client work, creating hills and valleys in their revenue and income coming in. And then they will wait until it's too late to hire an assistant. They'll wait until it's too late to bring on reception service. They'll wait until it's too late to bring on a bookkeeper. They basically are constantly delaying their progress, shooting themselves in the foot by waiting too long for all these things. The answer is to always precede the expense before the revenue. It sounds counterintuitive. It sounds like a difficult way to operate, but if you recognize that it's making an investment in your business, that it's the capital expenditure required, you treat it differently. The same way that you would recognize that if I want to open a 7-Eleven franchise, it's going to cost me $750,000 to do that. So I need to have $750,000 somehow. Now, most likely, I could have $200,000 and get a loan for the rest. But I need to be willing to borrow that money, and I need to be willing to invest in myself and my future to understand that that's going to be the cost of starting that business. We don't approach law firms this way, and that's part of the problem. And the reason we don't approach law firms this way is because it's so easy to just do it. It's so easy to just get started that we think we can do it without. And the reality is that you need the plan and you need to have the cash. So how much do I have in cash? How much do I need? And where will it come from? Don't discount the ability to borrow money to get your journey started. It is much easier to borrow money before you open your doors than to try to figure it out later when you're already in the heat of it and you're already trying to navigate not just how am I going to get the cash I need, but how am I going to serve these clients? How am I going to continue to bring clients through the door? It is way easier to borrow money at the beginning of your journey, have that cash cushion, and actually have a plan for it to propel your journey forward. Now, you could also do some very stupid things with cash if you have too much of it. So you want to make sure that you have a concrete plan. You want to make sure that you're not blowing money on the wrong things along the way. But that is the cash component. And the last and final piece is the advisory board. And that is, don't go this journey alone. And it's not because we don't want to be lonely and we want to have somebody there along with us on the journey. No. Recognize, there's 2 main things I want you to recognize. Number 1, you're not a know-it-all. You don't know it all. As much as you think you know it all, you don't know it all. And this is going to be the hardest thing because attorneys are very, very smart people. You went through a lot of schooling, and it is natural to think that you know it all. But the very first thing that somebody tells me when they're struggling with their business is they don't teach business in law school. But you know it all, right? But that's the first thing that attorneys say is, but they don't teach business in law school, right? And I'm not harping on attorneys. I just want you to recognize that it is our instinct. It is our human instinct to believe that we know it all. And so the first thing is to recognize that we don't. And I coach business owners on having business success, and I don't know it all. I don't claim to know it all. I don't even think I know it all. As a matter of fact, I invest very heavily in my own coaches. I get help for everything. And I believe you should do the same. So advisory board consists of different components. First, coach or consultant. You have to have somebody that is willing to tell you what nobody else is willing to tell you. You have to have somebody who's willing to look from the outside in. Oh, this was the other point. So the first thing I said was you have to recognize that you don't know it all. The second component that you need to recognize is that when you're in the thick of it, when you're in it, you do not see, the saying, you see the forest for the trees, right? You don't see the forest. You only see the tree in front of you. And this is an absolute guarantee. I can guarantee you, no matter who is listening to this, at some point in your journey, either before or in the future, you will recognize that somebody else who has no clue about anything has better advice for you than you were able to come up with yourself. Why? Because they can look from the outside in and they can see what you're not seeing. If you have a coach or a consultant who's able to look from the outside in at what you're doing and give you feedback, they will help you avoid mistake after mistake after mistake. And if you listen carefully and you're willing to be coached, you're willing to be coachable, you will also learn faster than anybody else, and you will succeed faster than anybody else. So get yourself aligned with a coach or a consultant. It could be anybody. It could be myself, but there's so many people out there who do this. Just find somebody that you resonate with that is actually going to be able to help you in the practice area that you want, in the geographic location that you want, in the type of business you're trying to grow. Make sure it's aligned with your why and your what and your how and all the things that we lined up before, and hire them. Make that part of your cash investment in your business. Get involved with a coach or a consultant. The second thing is peers. There are other attorneys that you have gone to school with, that you have worked with, that have started their own law firm, who are further ahead in the journey than you. Connect with them. Get involved in a group. Meet with them. Have Zoom calls with them. Go out to lunch with them. And just shoot the breeze with them. Share your experiences. Share your frustrations. Share your wins, your losses with other people who are in the same boat as you. They are your advisory board. They're going to help you. They're going to share their own experiences. They're going to tell you what worked for them, what didn't work for them. They will give you ideas you will never have thought of. The best ideas are going to come from peers, people who have been through this before, who have been through this without you. You know what? There's Facebook groups. There's places that these people are hanging out. Even if you don't have a network, create a network of these people. Now, you don't have to know 100 or 1,000 of them. It's just you can have 2, 3, 4, or 5, and that's plenty. So you want to have a coach or a consultant. You want to have peers. And the last thing on my list is an accountant. Why an accountant? Not because I'm an accountant, but because one of the biggest expenses you're going to have that's going to creep up on you really, really quickly is taxes. And being oblivious to taxes and what they cost, as well as the fact that you actually can avoid a lot of them, is silly. And the reality is that everybody has, some people do their own taxes on TurboTax. I'm not even talking to you, right? Most people when they start their law firm, they say, "Oh, I have a tax preparer. I've been using this tax preparer for 10 years. I got a tax preparer." A tax preparer is not an advisory board accountant that we're talking about. I'm talking about somebody who's going to be interested in the day-to-day operations of your business. I'm talking about somebody who's going to understand the steps that you're taking, who sees your vision, who knows your goals, who knows your overall financial picture, and is able to help you plan the right entity, the right investments, the right timing of those investments, what your plan is when you're going to close down your firm. You're going to leave it to your kids. You're going to sell it. How do you position it for that? When you start making some significant money, how do you shield that money from taxes? How do you avoid paying taxes on day one? What are strategies you can take? What are some things you can do? I mean, if you have kids, you could put your kids to work in your firm. You're buying a car. Can you make it a business expense? I mean, there's so many different things you can do. But you know what? Instead, we use a tax preparer. We go to them in February to April, and we say, here's what we did. File my return. And their job is just to make sure that it clears the system. Now, I'm not saying that they don't mean well, and I'm not saying that they're not going to do the best for you, but tax strategy, tax planning happens throughout the year. By the time that you get to tax time, it's too late to implement pretty much anything to save your hide for the year before. And at the end of the year, to find out that you had a $200,000 profit and you owe $100,000 in taxes shouldn't come as a surprise. You should be expecting that. You should be paying estimated taxes throughout the year, and you should know what's going on. It should not be a surprise to you that you did well. And now you have a big tax bill for it. So accountant is really important on your advisory board. So just to review, because we're wrapping up the episode here, if you're just starting out your law firm, you're about to get started, these are my words of advice, words of wisdom for you. Get clarity on your why, what you're doing, how you're going to do it. Have a plan, have a financial goal, know how many clients you need to get to meet that financial goal, and know how long it's going to take you to get there. Cash, know how much you have, how much you need, and where it's going to come from. And set up an advisory board, have a coach or a consultant, have some peers, and have an accountant all ready to go. And then with that, you're ready to launch your firm. It sounds complicated, but trust me, the people who struggle are the ones who have skipped these steps. And if you are listening to this and you're 2 years into your journey and maybe you didn't do one of these, maybe you didn't create the clarity, maybe you don't have the plan, maybe you have no cash, maybe you lack an advisory board, go back and do that. See what kind of a difference that makes in your firm. And with that, I look forward to catching you on Thursday on our next interview. Thanks for listening to my words, whether they're words of wisdom or whether you think that I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. But if you enjoyed this episode, share it with somebody. Share it with somebody who can gain from it, and and also subscribe to the show. If this is your first time listening to it, hit the subscribe button in your podcast player, and I will catch you guys soon. Take care. Thank you for tuning into the Profit with Law podcast. Your feedback is extremely valuable to us, as well as helping us reach more people with this valuable content. Please leave us a rating and review in your favorite podcast directory. Join us again next time when we are back with even more strategies to profit with law.